Hey everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and today I want to talk about the new moon in Cancer taking place on July 14th, 2026 at 2:43 a.m. Pacific time. This is going to be at 21 degrees of Cancer. A new moon is where the sun and the moon come together in a conjunction. They literally come together and fuse in order to create something new. It's also the darkest phase of the moon where you can't see very well. You have to go on into an interior emotional place in order to imagine the potentials that are ahead. This particular new moon is conjunct Mercury. Mercury is currently retrograding. And I think that the influence that this will have is it will bring either people back from your childhood, memories of your childhood, nostalgia. Cancer rules home and hearth. It rules the mother. It rules how we were nurtured. It also rules the development of the child, the development of the fetus into a full-fledged human being. So there's going to be a lot of review about potentially fertility, about the conception of children. I know we normally give the conception to the fifth house of Leo, but they're intricately involved. The other thing I thought was kind of interesting about this particular new moon in Cancer, there's various schools of thought about the layers in astrology, and as I've learned them and come across them, I've integrated them into my philosophies. And Christopher Witecki assigns the second degree to, well, I should say the second degree. I should say let me back up. The dog just barked. When he goes through the degrees sequentially, 0, 1, 2, 3, the 1 represents the sun. It represents what I desire, what I love, and what my heart wants. When we go to the 2, it represents the moon and the more maternal energy, the feeling energy, the nurturing energy. I feel. So I feel like when I'm looking at this 21 degrees, I'm looking at reviewing as I go through, and I'm aware that Mercury is retrograding at the same time as this new moon. I'm looking over, what do I love? What do I feel about things? What do I feel about the possibilities of things and the expansion of things? Mercury rules our everyday lives. It rules our monkey mind. It rules the habits that we have. So I think that there's going to be a lot of, without realizing it, there could be things that happen in your neighborhood with your siblings, in your community, that trigger thoughts or ideas or new concepts about how you want to foster what it is you love, and how you trust your intuitive body. Because when I say I feel, I think it's emotions, oftentimes the more disruptive ones, are really indicative of a time when we're ignoring our emotions, and we're so invested in the story of what our mind tells us is important, and what our mind tells us is responsible, and what our mind tells us makes us a good person. And so it can be very self-sacrificing, hence Mercury being the ruler of Virgo. So let me pull up the chart. I'm sorry if I seem distracted. I don't think you guys can hear when my dog starts to bark at the front door, because Zoom is beautiful about keeping outside noise at bay. So here we see the chart at the time of the new moon, and we see it's here, the 21 degree, the sun and the moon come together, and there is Mercury. On the outskirts of this is Jupiter. This is quite a wide orb, but then again, Jupiter's very expansive. So I think that Jupiter is having sort of like, when you get in an elevator and you hear music in the background and you don't really have a consciousness on it, but it's still there. And unless you were to tune in and focus on it, you wouldn't even notice it. That's what I think Jupiter is here, kind of echoing to this new moon. Are you coming from your heart? What is it you really want to create? How much faith do you have in that? Because Jupiter at the time of this new moon is in a very pretty tight, not quite exact opposition to Pluto. And Pluto is an Aquarius wanting to break up whatever psychological dynamics are holding you back from your future. So I think that this is a very strong influence, but at the same time, super subtle at the time of this new moon. And I think that that's further evidenced by Mars and Uranus's conjunction. Now, again, this conjunction has loosened up, and that's actually really good news because the dark side of this is very explosive anger. But now I think that at this moment, while there's still kind of tension in this conjunction, in the background of this new moon, we are being offered opportunities to take action that bring us into our future. But it's got to be thoughtful action. It's got to be, it's almost the same thing. With the Gemini energy, there's ideas, concepts, there's information that comes through as well. So there could be in the background ideas that are popping off during this new moon and the new creation, different ways of going about handling it or going about creating it. And at the same time, I think Mercury's retrograde conjunct the new moon is asking you to take your time to really think out your ideas, to do your research, to muse on the idea. But as you do, remember that there will be opportunities for, I think that Uranus and Mars conjunct in Gemini right now as they loosen up is brave thought that extrapolates the genius within me, the visions of the future. And it may feel a little tense because there is a loose T-square to the nodes, but at the same time, Uranus is making a very tight, within 15 minutes of Jupiter right now, trine. A great awakening, a great revelation, really being able to take that toxic psychological imprint that came from my childhood that I didn't even know existed in my conscious mind. I do think that there's something very important about the idea that the moon, while it rules Cancer, there is a side of the moon that we never see. There is they call it the dark side of the moon because it doesn't hit the sun in any way. And that's where I think we could all become aware on a subconscious level of what's been holding us in that emotional pattern that made us feel unseen, which is the whole 21-degree concept that I spoke of earlier. And by the way, the 19th degree in Christopher Witecki's step system. Now, I've never done his classes, so this is my interpretation of what I've heard through his videos. Again, the one is that what do I love? That's the sun, my light, shining my vitality, my creativity, my sense of leadership. And then the 9 is the Mars energy. Will I defend that which I love through balanced action? And that balanced action for me is where Mars is not reactive, but intentionally active. And that is supported by the opposition from Jupiter to Pluto in the background of this new moon. Asking you, what do you really believe? Is it something that you believe from your heart, or is it something you've inherited? Does that belief move you into the future? Does that belief really offer you the expansion that you want in this life? Now, in the background, we have, this has been going on and will continue for a few months. The nodes are at 0. Well, not, I should say a few months. It will last for about a month, exact at 0 degrees. The nodes squaring. Oh, I'm sorry. They're in favor to Chiron here. I got distracted by the time. I want to offer it this way because as they move into the Leo Aquarius axis, we'll feel a change in the focus, but we'll still have a conjunction with Chiron. Chiron will be at 0 degrees of Taurus for 3 months, which is why I said that. So here I think that there is opportunity now this is again where Jupiter comes into play, because with the North Node at 0 degrees of Pisces, Jupiter's influence in relation to the opposition to Pluto is having a strong sense and faith of your own divinity within the physical experience. This is why the South Node is asking to kind of release or to reintegrate or to extrapolate the wisdom from any places where you've been overly critical and felt like you lacked perfection or lacked true service to others. The Virgo energy is very difficult in some respects because it analyzes and measures and discerns and processes in a relation to how it is in service to others. And sometimes being able to go into that truly dreamy place of using my own voice, my own talents, my own skills is being of service to others, because it's representing the possibilities of what can be when the personality is aware of the soul that lives within. So I'm going to click off of Chiron right now. So I think overall, this new moon is about really assessing and planning and thinking about what it is that makes you feel at home, makes you feel safe, makes you feel secure, makes you feel like a sense of belonging, to rather than villainize any old energies, beliefs, ideas, or concepts that have brought you to this point, just allowing them to be part of the structure, part of the tapestry, part of the construction of who you are now and the broadening of who you are now, because it isn't without tension sometimes that the human doesn't broaden. And that's what Jupiter's influence in relation to Pluto is doing here. And I really think that, thank you so much for this kind of loosening up, because this is a very violent, disruptive, explosive energy. But it's also, when consciousness is used, it's a very brave energy for, having visions of moving into the future in a way that really benefits the community. So what it comes down to overall is using these planets and their activity to support a bigger vision of what your soul wants to experience on this journey of life. And as you take this new moon's energy and harness it into a place that understands where you nurture your own heart and your own emotional body, you actually are a better service to nurture those that you love and that you care about and that you want to see succeed. So, we have new moons every month, and every month we have sort of this opportunity, but at the same time, the outer planets are moving in a way that are changing the landscape of these moons. Even though they are regular, the landscape itself is shifting. And as we allow the planets to represent the higher vibrations of their possibilities, then we can materialize those and represent what a new earth could truly be. So I hope you found this a benefit for you. If you did, please like, please subscribe, please share, and come back for much more content. You can check out, I always do the plugs at the end after people have left the video. I don't know why, I'm not smart that way. I'm not a very good marketer, but I've done a video on Chiron in Taurus for the first 3 months at 0 degrees before it retrogrades. I've done one on Neptune's retrograde. Check that one out. Mercury's retrograde. Check it out. There's some stuff to look for. All right, everybody. Thanks so much. Peace out.